Upfront and Outspoken with Bob Williams. If you love the Constitution,
man is not free unless government is limited.
If you love freedom,
as government expands, liberty contracts.
If you believe in personal responsibility, if you believe America is still the greatest nation on earth, then get ready for an experience you'll never forget. This is Upfront and Outspoken. Here's your host, Bob Williams.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
And welcome back. This is Upfront Outspoken. Of course, I'm your loudmouth host, Bob Williams. Glad to have you along with us on this Wednesday. Hump day. Hard to believe. It's already midweek. So let's get right into things, because I do want to talk about the interview that Katie Couric had with former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, because there was a couple of things that came to my mind. My guest, who I had hoped to have called now, obviously something held him back. That's all I can say. Something probably had detained him. But anyhow, let's get into the weather. For today, mostly sunny with a high near 86 degrees. For tonight, partly cloudy with a low near 66. And for your Thursday, a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. Otherwise, mostly sunny, high near 87 degrees. Currently outside the studios, we have 70 degrees, and in Howe, it is partly cloudy and 67 degrees. That's courtesy of our weatherman, Scott Clark. Thanks again, Scott, for giving us that information. All right, now, let's get into a couple other things here first. Number one, everybody loves to save money. I know you do, I do, and I don't like the aggravations, especially when it comes around to the holidays. You know what I mean? You know exactly what I mean. The elbow to elbow, the crowds, all of that crap. And you don't like to deal with them as much as I don't like dealing with them. Well, we got a real easy way for you to do your seasonal shopping, and that is by going to our website at kkrplazer1610.com. It's LAZER 1610.com. Scroll down the page a little bit, and guess what you're going to find? You're going to find Amazon. That's right. Shop Amazon using our website, and not only are you saving money, but you're also helping us. Now you're wondering, how's that? Amazon pays us, so you save money. How simple is that? So go to our website, kkrplazer1610.com. Save money, save time, shop Amazon. All right. Now, there was a couple things that Leon Panetta brought up in his interview with Katie Couric. And one of them, to me, kind of caught me off guard a little bit, was that according to former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, that our government right now is not being governed the way it should be, but is being governed by crisis to crisis. And you're wondering, okay, what is that? That means like what's going on right now in Syria, in Iraq, with ISIS. That's a crisis that can affect globally. Also, what came up recently into Ukraine and what's coming up, you all know that. And according to former Secretary of State Leon Panetta, that our government is operating under the principle that we are to govern what we do, how we deal with situations on that basis. Now, he was very explicit about that, and I got to give Secretary Leon Panetta the heads up, because he was there. He knows what was going on. He was kind of the right-hand man for not only Bill Clinton when he was chief of staff, but also when he became Secretary of Defense for President Obama. And other things that really kind of got me, and I have to concur with what Mr. Panetta said when Syria when we even thought that Syria might be using chemical weapons against its own people, that President Obama drew what has commonly been referred to as a red line. In other words, the line in the sand. You cross this line, we're coming after you. Well, that line was if Assad used any sort of chemical weapons against the people in Syria, that we would take military action. That was the line drawn in the sand. Okay, bear that in mind. That was the line that was drawn in the sand. And when we found out that over 1,400 people were killed because of these chemical weapons, President Obama flinched. He did nothing. And in doing so, it sent a very mixed message to all of our allies in all the countries around the world, that the United States may say this, but they may not do anything. He flinched. It ruined, it destroyed a lot of our credibility on the world market, on the world scene. I shouldn't say world market, but on the world scene. People looked up to the United States that if we said something, we were going to follow through. That was what people have always been under the assumption, that once the United States says we are going to do this, we will do this. And when President Obama flinched, when he blinked, so to speak, that did indeed ruin or destroy much of our credibility. However, Mr. Panetta has said that since we have become so much involved in what is going on with ISIS and the bombings and all of that, our credibility once again is slowly building up. I agree with that. We finally did take decisive action against ISIS and ISIL. We did take that decisive action. We are bombing the crap out of these guys. And even Panetta said, and I want to make this clear from my assumptions from what Panetta said, was he's going to leave it to the military to decide if we do put boots on the ground. However, he did state that we already have some boots on the ground in order to target where these bombs go. And he's right. You have to have somebody on the ground in order to target the area. You can't just do it randomly and hope it's going to hit. You can't do that. You got to have somebody on the ground doing it. So in some ways, yes, we have boots on the ground already, but not to the point where we become a full-blown military force. But we do have boots on the ground. I want to make that extremely clear. We do have boots on the ground. And will we become further involved is an issue that many are taking up, including those within the Pentagon. They're probably scratching their heads, because some areas ISIS has been weakened. They're in a form of, in a sort of a retreat. But in other areas, they are still advancing, like what is going on near the Turkish border. Granted, we are bombing them. Granted, we are making an impression. Will ISIS withdraw from Kobani? We don't know that yet. According to some sources, it has made an effect. According to other sources, Kobani is now under ISIS control. It's very hard to say exactly what the situation is like. But like Panetta said, when we became involved, once again, very actively in the world geopolitical arena and lived up to what we said we were going to do, our credibility has indeed gone up. Many nations are now once again looking to America to help, to get them out of the situation. And with that, yes, I have to agree with what Mr. Panetta said. And he also brought up the issue that, a lot of people have condemned the idea of how we got bin Laden. with the intelligence and how we got the intelligence that he was in Pakistan, that he was in that specific house, and then they sent in the SEAL team to eliminate a threat. And what I'm talking about is the intelligence agencies used a program for vaccinations. They went into an area, they vaccinated people, and in the process, they were also gathering intel. And Panetta said right out that if he had to do it all over again, he would. And I agree with him. When it comes to a target, when it comes to a foe that we know is responsible for, like the beheadings that we've had with Foley, we've had with Sotloff, we've had with, several since our involvement with ISIS. When it comes to gathering intel, I have to agree with Panetta. I don't care how you do it, but do it. Get the intel and eliminate the threat, period. I don't care if you have to use the World Health Organization. I don't care if you have to use, going in and giving vaccinations or, pretending to be missionaries or what. Whatever it takes to get the intel to eradicate a threat, I believe, is justified. I don't care who you are or what you say or why you say it or why you believe it. But yes, I fully concur with Panetta in that we must use every conceivable avenue to gather the intel we need to eradicate our foe. We did it with bin Laden, and everybody cheered when bin Laden was killed. Everybody except Al-Qaeda, except Pakistan. Oh, they weren't going to cheer it, and they didn't like the way they did it. And now, because of that, how we gather intel is being hampered a bit. And even the CIA and all the intelligence agencies says, "Oh, we're not going to do that anymore." I think my honest opinion, that was a mistake. That was a mistake to say that. I agree with Panetta. I agree we need to go after these terrorists with a very, very heavy hand and use every means at our disposal to get them. To get them. Not only get them, to kill them. ISIS is a threat. We all know this. Because they've said right out that, we're going to come and get you. We're going to come and get you. All right. Let's prove to them you're not going to be able to do it as easily as you think, because we're going to come in there and use any means at our disposal, and we're going to take you out. We're going to take your leadership out. We're going to take you out. And then Panetta brought up the Katie Couric and Leon Panetta were discussing about the Americans who, according to the FBI, they know there's some over there fighting for ISIS. And what's going to happen if, say, these individuals survive the attacks and come back here into the United States? How do we monitor? How do we, put surveillance on these people? How do we keep tabs on these people? Well, granted, yes, ever since 9/11, our intelligence agencies have been working more together. They have been sharing information more consistently. But yet there's gaps that need to be filled. You've heard me talk over and over and over again about what should be done, in my opinion. And my opinion is this: if we know for a fact of an individual who has gone over and started fighting for ISIS, and we know who that individual is, and if that individual returns here to the United States, my honest opinion, let's snag them off the plane. Let's put them on another plane, send them to Gitmo. Let's send them down there. Maybe then it might hinder others from joining it. Will it? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, we already apprehended a 19-year-old in O'Hare Field who was going to join ISIS. And tomorrow, hopefully, I'll have the news bite about an American who is now fighting for ISIS. But like I said, I honestly believe that any American or anyone who has a passport that would allow them here in the United States that we know were part of this ISIS situation, I personally believe snagging them off the airplane as soon as it touches down, boarding them on the next flight to Gitmo, because they don't deserve anything less. They don't deserve anything less. And then finally, Panetta brought up the fact of what they call enhanced interrogations. Well, many of you would call it waterboarding, as far as getting intel. Well, I don't agree with waterboarding all the time. But if we know there is a direct imminent threat and we have someone in our custody who has that vital information, then in my opinion, the enhanced interrogation procedures should be allowed to occur. That's my opinion. If it were you and you knew that there was a terrorist plot going to happen in your neighborhood, but you didn't know when, but you knew somebody or that you had somebody in your custody that probably, with about a 95% chance had that information, wouldn't you want to retrieve it so you could not only apprehend those who are potentially responsible, but avert a potential disaster? I think you all would say, yes, Bob, you're right. We need to stop these people. Well, then, why not? Why not use these enhanced techniques to retrieve the vital information we need? What can I tell you? Those are my opinions, and like I said, I agree with Panetta on many of his statements that he made to Katie Couric in the interview I aired earlier today. And I encourage you, if you want to hear that full interview, you can go on Yahoo, and I'm certain there's going to be a link on Yahoo to the interview. It's a worthwhile interview to listen to, and I look forward to reading Mr. Panetta's book, because I'm sure, beyond a doubt, there's going to be several more things within it that are going to enlighten the vast majority of us as to what goes on behind the scenes that we don't know about with intelligence, with bin Laden, with the Obama administration, with the Clinton administration, with it all. I look forward to obtaining a copy of that book myself. Wow. It's been an interesting day. What can I tell you? What I can tell you, it is time for me to get on out of here, because coming up here at the bottom of the hour, none other than the one, the only, Mr. Ed Till will be with you all the way up until 4 o'clock this afternoon. So until tomorrow, 6 a.m., this is Bob Williams. Take care of yourselves.